أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. First and foremost, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be among the Muslimin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to be of those who say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. With regards to our kalima of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, we understand that the first part of the kalima of La ilaha illallah means that we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we believe whatever it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. That which was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Muhammad Rasulullah, to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the Quran. With regards to all of the prophets came with some type of miracle. Isa alayhi salam, he came with the touching of the people, curing the blind, curing the leper, raising the dead bi-idhnillah, right? When Musa alayhi salam came, he came with the staff, right? He came with pulling his hand out of his bosom. It was from black to white. Many other prophets came with many different miracles to prove to the people that there was a prophet. In the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the claim to fame at that time was poetry. So in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the thing that was prevalent or the thing that was popular at that time was poetry. So with regards to that time and that era, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the best of miracles, which was the Quran. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with the Quran, they say that he was a poet. They came with this poetry. First and foremost, we must understand that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he couldn't read nor could he write. And this was something that was already prophesied by the prophets of old, the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and other prophets of old. It was prophesied that there would be a man that would come that was unlettered, a person that would come that would only speak the words that came into his mouth, right? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he couldn't read, he couldn't write. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him the Quran, and it came with the most beautifulest of speech. Not only was it beautiful, but the Quran, it rhymed, right? Like we say, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een, Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Right? The Quran, it rhymes. Not only does it rhyme, but it tells beautiful stories that people never heard before, or it tells you beautiful stories that Bani Israel, they were used to hearing, right? So when the people heard the Quran, how beautiful it was, the stories that it talked about, and with regards to the eloquence of the Quran. As Allah said that the jinn and the men, if they all got together to put together the Quran, they would never be able to do it, right? Anyone that tried to combat or go against the Quran, they would look foolish. Like at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was Musaylima, there was the liar. He said that he came with something better than the Quran, and he tried foolishly to come up with something, and he looked it like a fool. So the Quran is the miracle that was given to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What was the miracle of it? It was Arabiyyun Mubin, a clear, precise, non-ambiguous, classical Arabic recital. Anyone that heard the Quran at that time understood that it was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even with regards to Umar ibn al-An, before he became Al-Faruq, before he became the criterion, before he became one of the best friends of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was on his way to go kill the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But on his way to go kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was stopped by one of the Sahabas that was pretending to not be Muslim. And he said, but before you go and take care of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, go take care of your family, your sister and her husband. They became Muslim. So long story short, Umar ibn al-An, he went to the house to go check on his sister to see about her becoming Muslim, and he heard the recitation of the Quran. He heard the recitation of Surah Al-Taha, right? And so with regards to him listening and hearing the Quran, it melted his heart. Now, this man was on his way to go kill the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but because of the beauty, because of the eloquence, because of the movingness of the Quran, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, Umar al-An, he changed his position with regard to being an enemy of Islam to being one that would be the best friend and one of the best in the deen with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to Islam. So this was the beauty of the Quran. We must understand that the Quran is a miracle. And why do we Muslims read the Quran? What's so special about the Quran? First and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Inna anzalna fi laylatul qadr, wa ma adraka ma laylatul qadr. And verily we have sent it in Laylatul Qadr. We sent the Quran in Laylatul Qadr, right? In the tafsir of this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that not only did he send the Quran, but he sent all of the revelations, whether it's the Zabur, whether it's the Torah, whether it's the Injil. He sent all of the Quran, all of the recitations, all of the books during the month of Ramadan. That's when we say Ramadan is the month of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the Quran Laylatul Qadr during the month of Ramadan. But we also know that all of the books were revealed during the month of Ramadan. The Torah, the Injil, the Zabur, all of them was revealed. But the Quran, it was revealed specifically on Laylatul Qadr. That's why Ramadan is called the month of the Quran. When the Quran, as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he revealed the Quran fi Laylatul Qadr, in the night of power. So why do we say if it was revealed in one night, how come did it take 23 years, for him to get to revelation? But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah revealed the Quran at one time to Lawh Mahfuz, which is the lowest heavens, that it was revealed and sent down to the lowest heavens, right, to be guarded and preserved by the angels. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it down piecemeal, right, to the earth, to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it was revealed all at once, right, in Laylatul Qadr, revealed to the lowest heavens, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. With regards to the Quran, why do we read the Quran? The Quran is the huda. The Quran is the criterion between whether one will accept the huda, one will accept the guidance, or one will not be guided. Allah said that he will send his messengers, he will send his prophets with huda. The huda of the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this Quran, on the day of judgment, it will testify for you or it will testify against you. Based on what you do with the Quran, based on how you read the Quran, based on how you obey the Quran, it will testify for you and it will testify against you if you don't do what you're supposed to do. There's many beautiful things with regards to the Quran. And again, there's many things we could talk about. I'm just going through a little piecemeal with regards to certain things that are beneficial. We're told by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to the Quran that the best surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha. The best surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha. He said the best story of the Quran is Surah Al-Yusuf. The best ayat in the Quran, Ayat al-Kursi. So this is something that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us about. The best surah, as he said, Alhamd, which is Surah Al-Fatiha. What's so special about Fatiha? We're told it's called Al-Ruqiyah, Al-Shifa, Alhamd, the oft-repeated verses. We're told that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in Surah Al-Fatiha, it has two parts. The first part, Tawheed. The first part, right, for Allah, the other part, for the Ibad, right? So Surah Al-Fatiha is the best surah in the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said when Surah Al-Fatiha was revealed, there was a crack. There was a sound in the heavens like never heard before because there was nothing ever revealed like Surah Al-Fatiha. So when we understand what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best surah is Surah Al-Fatiha, we have to really take in Surah Al-Fatiha. It's a ruqyah, it's a shifa. Why is that? What are all the things in Surah Al-Fatiha? In the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a man that was bewitched, or there was a man that was stuck by a scorpion. And all of the Sahabas were trying to cure this man. Nobody can cure him. But then one of the Sahabas said, let me try. So what he did, he recited Surah Al-Fatiha over this person, the Quran. right? The Quran. He recited the Quran over this person, and the man became cured. So the news went back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to him being cured from Surah Al-Fatiha. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the man, he said, how did you know that Surah Al-Fatiha is a ruqyah? How did you know that Surah Al-Fatiha is a ruqyah, meaning Surah Al-Fatiha is a cure? Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, just Surah Al-Fatiha, is the cure for every disease except death. Again, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha with iman, with belief, right? With tawakkul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the cure of every disease except death. We have another hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, there's two healings. There's two healings. Quran, right? Wal asr. The Quran and honey. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there's healing in the Quran and in honey. The Quran is a healing of the body. It cures the heart, right? When you recite the Quran, the miracle of the Quran, and you recite it properly, as the brother's teaching you with tajweed, tartil. You recite it as it's supposed to be recited, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. He said, anyone does not read the Quran with the gunnah. If you do not read the Quran with gunnah, with your best voice, your best melodious voice, laysa minna. Recite it with gunnah or laysa minna. Recite it with the best of voice. Be like Dawood alayhi salam when you recite the Quran. He had the best voice. When you recite the Quran, the way that it was revealed, like with all the gunnah, Allah subhanahu said, those who believe, it does something to their hearts. It takes away all the guilt. It takes away all the bad things in your heart, and it will move you. Right? It will clean your heart. Alhamdulillah. So Surah Al-Fatiha, Ashifa, Ruqyah. This is the Quran. Surah Al-Yusuf. There's many benefits in Surah Al-Yusuf. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that the best story is Surah Al-Yusuf. So we got to read the story of Surah Al-Yusuf. Read it. Understand it. The best ayah in the Quran, Ayatul Kursi. Even though it's a small ayah, but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best ayah. What's so beneficial about Ayatul Kursi? Number one, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anyone that recites Ayatul Kursi after every fard prayer, right? After the 5 prayers, anyone that recites Ayatul Kursi after every fard prayer, the only thing that is preventing him from the Jannah, the only thing that is preventing him from being entered into paradise is death. Understand that. Anybody that recites Ayatul Kursi after every fard prayer, after Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, the only thing preventing this person from being entered into the Jannah is that he hasn't died yet. So this is one small thing with regard to the Quran, that if you recite it after every prayer, you're guaranteed the Jannah, right? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We also know that from other hadiths with regards to the beauty of the Quran, with regards to the beautiful blessings that come with reciting the Quran. We have a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he said that there will be 2 surahs that if anyone reads these surahs, and again, I'm just going through certain hadiths with regards to some of the benefits of the Quran, some of the benefits of reciting the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there are 2 surahs that if you read these surahs, they will come on the day of judgment and it will speak for you and testify for you on the day of judgment and to shield you from the hellfire. There are 2 surahs that if you recite them, you read them often, they will come on the day of judgment and be a witness for you and a safeguard, a preventer of the fire for you and speak for you. Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. Those who recite Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran, they will be a witness for you. They will be a means of protection from the fire for you, and they will speak for you. How will they speak on the day of judgment? Allahu Alam. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said they will speak for you, and they will testify for you. Another benefit of reciting the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anyone that recites Surah Al-Baqarah in the house, anyone that recites Surah Al-Baqarah in the house, Shaitan has to leave the house. Anybody recites Surah Al-Baqarah in the house, Shaitan will leave the house. So anyone that feels any type of ill presence or any type of weird presence, or one wants to clean the house, or one wants to remove any jinn from his house, you know, first and foremost, once you come in the house, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, right? You greet the house and the jinn stay outside the house, as well as reciting Surah Al-Baqarah or playing Surah Al-Baqarah in the house. It will remove the jinns, it will remove shaitan from the house. We have other hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to reciting Surah Al-Mulk, with regards to reciting Surah Al-Yasin, right? These are means of rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are means from, with regards to having strength from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Or not being of those that are put in debt, right? So we have many hadith of reciting the Quran and the benefits of the Quran. When we recite these ayats, when we recite these surahs, there's many benefits that we can understand, and there's many benefits that we don't understand. Remember in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the Sahabas was reciting the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah as well. And this Sahaba, he felt the presence, or he seen the clouds, and there was many miraculous things that were happening when he was reciting the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this was the Sakina. Allah was sending down the Sakina on the Sahaba because of his recitation. So there's many things that we can't even understand with regards to reciting the Quran. The Quran is the Kalam Allah. It is the word of Allah, right? It is the miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's many things that we can't even understand. Even with regards to reciting Surah Al-Kafirun, right? We're growing, you're learning all of these surahs, you're learning how to recite them. Surah Al-Kafirun, what's so special about Surah Al-Kafirun? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one that recites Surah Al-Kafirun as if he recited 1/4 of the Quran. 1/4 of the Quran. What's so significant about reciting 1/4 of the Quran? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anybody that recites one letter of the Quran, and he said, I don't mean alif, lam, mim, that's one letter. He said, no, alif is a letter, lam is a letter, mim is a letter. He said, anyone that recites one letter of the Quran, he gets 10 good deeds. 10 good deeds. So Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, you know, just say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I think that's 15 letters, 150 good deeds. So we said with regards to Surah Al-Kafirun, and we know that the Quran has about 5,000 plus ayats. And each ayat has certain words or certain letters. Every letter you get 10 good deeds. Okay? So with regards to Surah Al-Kafirun, you recite Surah Al-Kafirun as if you recited 1/4 of the Quran. So we say 5,000, that means what? 1,200 ayats. In those ayats, you have so many words with so many letters, right? Times 10. This is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? One good deed, 10 good deeds. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So never doubt the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to another surah in the Quran, At-Takatur, Al-Hakum At-Takatur, Hatta Zurtumu Maqabir, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, who can recite, right, 1,000 ayats, right? 1,000 ayats. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily the one that recites Surah Takatur, he gets the reward as if he recited 1,000 ayats. 1,000, right? Just for reciting Takatur, right? So alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, there's many beautiful things that we recite in the Quran. Again, another hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, which of you can recite 1/3 of the Quran, right? In one night or one sitting. And the Sahaba said, who can do that? That's a lot to recite 1/3 of the Quran. And he said, verily the one that recites Surah Al-Ikhlas gets the reward of reciting 1/3 of the Quran. There was a man in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and after every salat, during every salat, he would always recite Surah Al-Ikhlas. Every salat, he would recite Surah Al-Ikhlas. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And so the Sahaba said he recites this all the time. They reported it to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked them, why do you recite Surah Al-Ikhlas? He said, because I love it, because it has tawheed in it. It has the oneness of Allah, it has his attributes in it, and I love it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-Jannatu wajib. Jannah wajiba. He said, for you, Jannah is wajib because of your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your love of reading the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you and he has made it mandatory that he gives you the Jannah. And he also said the recitation of Surah Al-Ikhlas is equivalent to 1/3 of the Quran. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Another example, and again, I'm just going through certain hadiths. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every Friday recite Surah Al-Kahf. And as we're reciting these surahs, we're getting acclimated with the Quran. We're getting acclimated, right, with the stories of the Quran, right? In order to know the Quran, you got to read the Quran. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every Friday read Surah Al-Kahf, right? It will be a light for you from Friday to the next Friday. Allah will put a light around you, a nur from you. And he also said the recitation of Surah Al-Kahf will protect you from the Dajjal, right? So we got to understand these things. The recitation of Surah Al-Kahf, it will protect you from the Dajjal. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection of the Dajjal every day in the Salat, right? Before we make in the Tashahhud, we ask Allah to protect us from the Masih Dajjal, the Shabbat Masih Dajjal, right? The evil of the Antichrist. How do we get protected? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, recite Surah Al-Kahf, right? Whether it's the first 3 ayats or whether it's the first 10 ayats, and you memorize these, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you will be protected from the Dajjal. Another example, and I'll finish with this hadith. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the Jews, they did magic on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they did magic on him to the point that he thought that he was doing something, you know, that he was engaging with his wives, right? But he wasn't. He was discombobulated, right? He didn't understand what was going on. So when he went to sleep one day, the angels, they were over him and they were talking. They said, well, what's wrong with him? And then other angels said, he's been bewitched. He said, how? How was he bewitched? How was he bewitched? How was he, was there magic done on him? And he said, someone took from his comb, took some of his hair, tied it in knots and put it in the well. So in this dream that the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, he was told by the angels that someone did magic on him, how they did magic on him, and where the magic was at. So when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam woke up, he went to where he had seen in the dream that the comb was in the water well. They went and got it out, untied it, right? And then the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came out of his bewitchment. He came out of his swoon. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet Muhammad Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. And so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas, these are protections from magic. Anyone that feels that they've been bewitched, anyone who's doing a ruqyah or trying to, or someone that may have magic done on them, or they went majnoon, and you want to try to cure them, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when you recite these surahs, Surah Al-Falaq, Surah Al-Nas, in another narration, Surah Al-Falaq, Surah Al-Nas, right, and Surah Al-Ikhlas, and you recite these 3 times, blow into your hands, and then you wipe over all of your body. This will protect you from magic. It'll protect you from hostile. It'll protect you from envy. It'll protect you from jealousy. And it will protect you from al-ayn. It'll protect you from the evil eye. So we have many beautiful things, many beautiful blessings with regards to reciting the Quran, the benefits of the Quran, the protection from reciting the Quran, the elevation of the Quran. One more hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said on the day of judgment, the ibad will be asked to recite. Allah will say, recite, recite. And based on your recitation, based on your memorization of the Quran, will determine your elevation in the Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell you, recite, and you will recite all the ayats, all the surahs that you knew. And based on your recitation, based on your memorization, right, that will determine your elevation in the Jannah. And you'll stop, right, when you stop on your last recitation, or your last ayat, your last surah. Right? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So there's beauty in the Quran. There's miracles of the Quran. There's many blessings in the Quran. There's much protection in the Quran. So why is the Quran special to us? Because we have many things that we can benefit from the Quran. First and foremost, it's a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing like it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if all the jinn and all the men's and everybody all together, they came together to produce something like the Quran, they would never be able to do it. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and verily, we have protected and guarded this book. There are no other books like the Quran. All the other books have been corrupted. All the other books have been lost. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect it to Yom Al-Qiyamah. It's the only book in existence. It's the only book that's still intact. And it's the best book. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Inshallah, you got some benefit from some of the hadith, some of the knowledge that I shared with you today. And inshallah, if there's any questions, feel free, inshallah. Ameen.
MashaAllah, amazing super session and amazing discussion. Ustadh Abdul Wali Wabisan, as Ustadh Abdul Wali Wabisan told us, the best surah is Surah Al-Fatiha, the best ayat is Ayatul Kursi. Amazing. And every Friday we should read Surah Al-Kahf. And Ustadh Abdul Wali Wabisan told us the importance of Surah Al-Ikhlas, importance of Surah Al-Fatiha. It's amazing, mashallah. So guys, if you have any questions, please ask us.
I had a question about which books are you getting these hadiths from?
Much of my information, I was taught from the Sahih Sitta. I read from the Sahih Sitta, Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah. I read from the Muwatta of Imam Malik, the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, as well as I learned from Tafsir Ibn Kathir, Tafsir Qurtubi, Baghawi, Sa'adi, Tabari. So I try to stick to the authentic hadith, the authentic dalil. So these are where I get my information from. I try to stay away from any da'if or mawdu hadiths, any weak hadiths, any fabricated hadiths, and we stick to all of the Sahih books. But if you want to find out about the hadith, right? One of the advice that my imam gave me, he said, read the hadith, right? And start with Sahih Bukhari. You know, first of all, understand what are the Sahih Sitta. Right? We have Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, the Sahih of Abu Dawud, the Sahih of Tirmidhi, the Sahih of Nasa'i, and the Sahih of Ibn Majah. We also have beautiful books like Riyadh al-Salihin. Riyadh al-Salihin also has many of the books in it. We have the Muwatta of Imam Malik. This is another book that was written before Sahih Bukhari. It was the best book before Sahih Bukhari. We have the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. We have other books, the Miskat. There's many different books that you can read from, as well as going into the Tafsir. And one of the best works of Tafsir is Ibn Kathir, right? We have Ibn Kathir, we have Tabari, Sa'adi, Baghawi, right? My nasiha for you, the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir. It is one of the most renowned Tafsir books, and many of the explanations of the Quran, right, by the statement of Ibn Abbas, Ibn Mas'ud, Aisha, Mujahid, right, from the Sahabas and the Tabi'een. And when you read the Tafsir, you go through these stories, and it gives you the hadith, right, that go along with these ayahs. So this is what I suggest that you read. These are where these are the texts. These are the books that I've read: Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Ibn Kathir. I've read books by Ibn Taymiyyah, Sheikh Albani, right? Anything that you read, make sure that you understand where the dalil, where the evidence comes from, and it must come from Quran, Sunnah, and it must come from the texts that are validated as Sahih or Hassan. Okay, inshallah.
What book should I stay
Yes,
away from?
Elijah. Yes, Elijah. Mostly there are 6 famous books about ahadith, as Abdul Wali Robinson told us, and this is very important thing. Ustad, it's an amazing question. You know, nowadays on social media there are very fake ahadith, very weak ahadith. Some ahadiths are weak and some ahadiths are strong. Did you know? Okay, so I think so. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. I want you to recommend to Elijah and everyone just 2 to 3 books. Very, strong and famous. It's more easy for them to search this. So whenever you search any ahadith, you write Sahih, Abdul, wait, क्या था उसका नाम? Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim must mention these names. So Ustad Abdul Wali bin said, please tell them two, three names of hadith. And Elijah, please write. Everyone must write. Yes.
If I do go looking for books, what books should I not like trust or like names that if show up?
Well, the first thing is stick with the Sahih books. The two most authentic books that you can't go wrong with. The most two authentic books, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. These are the most authentic books, hands down, right? Unanimously around the world. These are the two most authentic books. If you want to start off, your foundation should start off with these two books. Okay. Once you get a firm understanding, you get a firm foundation with these two books, then inshallah, you get more acclimated, you get more aware of different books, different authors, different scholars, right? Then you can move on. That's why it's best that you learn from somebody that teaches you. Find you a mu'allim, find you a teacher, someone that can teach you and guide you to the right books, right? You don't want to just start, you don't know who's the author, you don't know where they come from. And the main thing is that you want to stick to the first three generations. Rasulullah said, the best generation is my generation, the generation after that, then the generation after that. Me and the Sahabas, the Tabi'een, and the Tabi'een. Stick to those three generations. What was their rulings? What were their sayings, right? So you want to go back to those works, but make your foundation with regards to Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, even Riyadh al-Salihin. Riyadh al-Salihin mainly has Bukhari, Muslim, Ahmed, Muwatta Imam Malik, right? These are the major books. So read these books first. Tafsir, Ibn Kathir, read these books first. Then once you get a firm foundation, then you can go to other books that are documented to be Sahih. You can go to other books written by different scholars that have been validated to be good scholars that follow the path of the first three generations, inshallah. But again, ask your teacher, ask your mu'allim, ask your ustad, ask him with regards to what books he should recommend for you to read, inshallah. But stick to Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim.
Yes, exactly. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, amazing. And other books as well. So must read these books and try to find the authentic hadith. Okay, because on social media nowadays, Ustadh Abdul Wali, so and Melkoi, please don't do this. Okay, Melkoi, please sit. Okay, so do you have any question? Melkoi, Amelia, Zakaria, Latre, Abdullah.
I have a question.
Ahwal.
I have a question.
Yes, Abdullah.
Okay. When you said that the Surah Fatiha was like the strongest surah in the whole Quran, what makes it the strongest surah? What makes it?
MashaAllah.
Okay, first and foremost, we say that it is the best surah in the Quran because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it's the best surah in the Quran. And then when you go into Surah Al-Fatiha, when you break it down, and this is why tafsir is very important, the hadith are very important. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says Surah Al-Fatiha is divided into two parts, right? Surah Al-Fatiha is divided into two parts. The first part is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first part is Tawheed, understanding the oneness of Allah, right? We say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most merciful. These are the two most beautiful names, the two most powerful names of Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Then Allah subhanahu says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise, all thanks, all appreciation is due to who? Rabbil Alameen. So again, we're talking about Tawheed of Rububiyyah, the oneness of Allah's lordship. He's the Rabbil Alameen. He's the Lord of everything that you can think of. Anything that you can think of, Allah is the Rabb. He's the fashioner, the sustainer, the creator of all of that. Rabbil Alameen. Then he repeats it again. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Again, the most merciful, the most merciful. Then what does he say? Maliki Yawmiddin. He's telling you one of his names. I'm Maliki Yawmiddin. I'm the king of the day of judgment, or the king that you pay back your debt to Allah. Maliki Yawmiddin. Yawmiddin, the day of debt. The day that you pay back to Allah. So he's giving the reality of the day of resurrection. He's the Malik on that day. He's the king on that day. Giving you the reality that on the day that you stand before Allah, he's the king, he's the authority, he's the one that decides where you're gonna go. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Only you do we worship. Only you do we seek help and assistance. Again, Tawheed. Tawheed uluhiyya, the oneness of his Godship. All worship is for Allah. All du'as is for Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Right? All of this is Tawheed. This is the first part. The second part for the ibad. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Oh Allah, guide me to the sirat al-mustaqim. Guide me to the straight path. Your path. What is the path? The path of Islam. Right? The path of submission. Guide me to the path. Sirat al-ladina anamta alayhim. Guide me to the path of those who you bestowed your ni'mah, your bounties in your favor. Guide me to the path of Nabiyyin, the Siddiqeen, the Shuhada, the Salihin. Guide me to the path of the prophets. So now I got to read these stories of the prophets. Guide me to the path of the Siddiqeen. Guide me to the path of the truthful people. Guide me to the path of the Shuhada, the martyrs, those who put the line. Those are the Salihin, those are the righteous. Guide me to this path. Sirat al-ladina anamta alayhim. Ghayr al-maghdubi alayhim wa ad-dallin. But do not guide me or do not lead me or allow me to go to the path of those who have bestowed thy anger or those who have went astray. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that those who have entailed the anger of Allah or the Yahud, the Jews, don't let us be like the Jews. Nor those that went astray. Do not allow us to be like the Christians. Then what do we say? Ameen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Surah Al-Fatiha is a dua. Surah Al-Fatiha is the best dua. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're proclaiming his oneness, you're proclaiming his tawheed, you're proclaiming that he's Rabbil Alameen, you're proclaiming that he's the most merciful, right? You're understanding about the day of judgment, you understand that, you know, you're signifying his names, then you're asking for something. You're asking for guidance. You're asking him for specific guidance, and you're asking him to prevent you from certain things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is the best surah. Because entailed in Surah Al-Fatiha, everything is entailed in Surah Al-Fatiha. Right? And then we say Ameen because it's the best dua. Surah Al-Fatiha is a dua, and it's the best dua. Alhamdulillah.
Exactly, Abdullah. That's why we read Surah Fatiha 5 times in prayer. So you can imagine how it's important.
Yes, sir.
So that's amazing. Okay, so we have Zachary, Amelia, and Melchior. Your question.
I have a question. When you said that Surah Ikhlas is 1/3 of the Quran, does that mean like I could read Surah Ikhlas 3 times and that'd be like the whole Quran I just read?
Exactly. Exactly. If you recite Surah Al-Ikhlas 3 times, you get to be rewarded as if you read the whole Quran. Alhamdulillah. That's the rahmah of Allah. You recite Surah Al-Kafirun 4 times because it's equivalent to 1/4 of the Quran. You recite it 4 times, you get to be rewarded as if you read the whole Quran. Right? Surah Al-Takathur is equivalent to 1,000 ayats. Right? Ayatul Kursi, 1/4 of the Quran. So many beautiful things like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this deen is easy, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he loves consistency. Find something small, right? Keep doing it, and it will be something big for you on the day of judgment. So do I have to recite, do I have to memorize the whole Quran? No, I don't have to. It's something that I want to strive to do, but let me strive to get the things that I know that there's much benefit in. Ikhlas, Kafirun, Ayatul Kursi, Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Mulk, Yasin, Baqarah, Imran,